Welcome back to Copper Star Precision, the channel dedicated to getting you more points at your competitive shooting matches. We're talking about the NRL22 July Course of Fire. This is stage 4, called Beat It On Down the Troop Line. Now, since this is a prone stage, there's really not much to demonstrate. I think everyone's relatively comfortable with a prone position, bipod in the front, rear bag, get a stable position, make your shots. However, I'll try something a little bit different. People always ask me about how do I organize my dope cards, what decisions do I make regarding how to write down data, all that kind of stuff. And I think for this stage, I'll put the target sizes down here. We've got 5 different targets. It's a simple near to far and then far to near engagement, so nothing too complicated there. However, this is the bonus stage. So normally, I tell new shooters, don't focus on bonus points or trying to go too fast and miss shots, because a miss is not going to make up for any bonus time that you accrue on this stage. So if I were a new shooter, I would just get simply into a nice comfortable prone position. I would be dialed for the first target, parallax set, and then I would dial and set parallax as I go up and then all the way back down. And 2 minutes is plenty of time during a prone stage, as long as you're, not fumbling around looking for the targets or your bipod isn't set at the right height or something like that. As long as you have a good stable position, dial all the way out, double tap the far target, and then dial back down if you want to try and maximize your points. But if you want to go fast, you're going to have to use holdovers because it's going to obviously save time over dialing. So let's discuss a little bit how I might set up a dope card. That's sort of the process I go through in some of these stages to determine, if I want to go fast, or if I'm on a stage that has a time stressor where it's not 2 minutes, it's a minute 45 or even 90 seconds. If I need to go fast, holdovers are key, but then planning on how you use your holdovers is also important. So I'll put on the screen up here a little table that might show you sort of some of my thought process. Because the NRL22 publishes these courses in advance, you can kind of think about this ahead of time. If you're at a match where you don't have the course of fire ahead of time, then, it might be difficult to do some of this stuff on the fly. But once you do it enough in practice, you can even go back through previous courses of fire and sort of map out these dope cards and get an idea for what your style of shooting likes. And then during a match, you'll be able to quickly calculate some of this stuff. So this table, although it looks maybe there's a lot of numbers on it, it's not really too complicated. So in the first column here, we have dope. This is going to be specific to you. So I actually use my Kestrel, and I get a general reading with 0 wind, what my dope might be for these targets, given the velocity of ammunition and the ballistic coefficient that I choose. So I like to always write this down in a notebook or even print out the course of fire and put it on there. Just in case my Kestrel goes down, runs out of batteries, I have some semblance of what my data might be for these different ranges. So first column is my dope. This is going to be unique to you. But the rest of this table is based off of that. So it's also going to be unique to whatever your position is. Because we're all shooting 22 long rifle, generally it's going to be in the ballpark of these numbers, plus or minus a tenth here and there. What's nice about the new courses of fire that the NRL puts out, they started doing this like 6 months ago, is they have the target size in both MOA and mils. I have a mil scope, so I'm going to rewrite down the target sizes. These can all be found on the actual target size portion of the course of fire. So here we have the target size in mils, and that's going to become important later. We can maybe do some creative things, given the target sizes, using the size of the target as actually a ways to, hold over on different parts of the target. And that will give us something where we don't have to hold over in between weird hash marks on our reticle. We can actually use the target size to our advantage. And then I have a couple of more columns here. What happens if I dial my elevation turret to X? So in the first column, what if I just kept it on 0, right? And then what if I dialed for the first target, which for me is 0.3 of a mil? What if I dial for the second target, 0.6, and so on and so forth? And then you basically simply subtract the dope from the elevation dial. So in the first column, if I don't do anything, then my holdovers are going to be my actual dope for those targets, because I'm dialed to 0. My dope is going to be my holdovers. If I dial to the first target, I'm basically subtracting 0.3 from all of my dope and then writing that down. If I dial for the second target, I subtract 0.6 from my dope to get my hold over, or in the case of the first target, a hold under, and so on and so forth. And what I'm looking for in kind of these tables, and I can even dial, I don't have to dial to a specific target. I can dial to a number in between targets. I could dial to 0.4 if that makes sense, right? The point is, I'm trying to line up the actual holdovers or hold unders to things that are easy and comfortable for my eye to engage with, right? So for me, on my base class rifle, I have half mil hash marks. So I would like numbers to be multiples of half a mil. So 0.5, 1, 1.5 would be ideal. On my open class gun, my scope has 2/10 hash marks. So actually, there is no half mil hash mark. It's 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and then 1. So actually, I may not want half mil increments in my holdovers because I have lines for 0.2s. I could always bracket between 0.4 and 0.6, but you get the idea. It depends what your eye is used to seeing. Now, how can we take this a step further using the target sizes to kind of help our brain? I think everyone gravitates towards sort of pointing the central crosshairs at something versus holding over. And using holdovers does take practice, right? You have to practice these things. This doesn't come intuitively to a lot of people. Everyone's pretty intuitive with a crosshair, but holdovers is a whole different ballgame. So sort of dialing my scope to 0 doesn't necessarily make sense. In my case, nothing kind of lines up with a 0.5 except for the third target is at a 1. But if we dial my turret to, let's say, 0.3, which is the first target, the first engagement will be a center hold. The second engagement, I need to hold over 0.3 of a mil. Well, that's not quite 0.5. It's between 0.5 and 0. So if I bracketed between 0.5 and 0, it would be a dope of 0.25 mils, right? But look at the target size. The target size is 0.6 of a mil. So half the target is 0.3 of a mil. That's my exact hold. So I can actually hold the top of the target. If I hold not the top of the hanger, the stem, but if the target is a circle, if I hold at the very top of that circle, then I'm already basically holding over for that 0.3 of a mil. Now, when we get to the third target at 0.7, I'm probably going to have to bracket that between 0.5 and 1. 1.1 is close enough to 1, and the target size tells me I have basically 0.8 mils to deal with. So, 1/10 of a mil is not going to make a huge difference on an 0.8 mil wide target. So I'd be comfortable holding 1. And lo and behold, the last target, 1.5, lines right up on a hash mark. So my dope card for this engagement using my base class rifle, which has half mil hash marks, would be straight up. And I would put a T under target 2 for top of target. And then 0.7, I just have to know in my brain to go in between 0.5 and 1. That 1.1, I could even change to a 1, and I should be fine given the size of the target. I should have enough error on either side that it would be an impact. And then 1.5 lines up perfectly with a hash mark. Let's say I wanted to use the 0.6 instead. So the first target is a 0.3 hold under, which is close enough to, if we divide the target size in half, which is 0.5 of a mil, it's 0.25 for half the target, right? So if I hold the bottom of the target, I should be able to hit the target. Second target would be straight up. Third target is 0.4, which is in a 0.2 mil hash mark reticle, is a line that is there. Or because it's 0.7, it's also pretty close to halfway through that target of 0.35, so I could hold the top of the target. And then the next two, 0.8 and 1.2, I have hash marks for. So all of those targets basically line up on the hash marks. My dope card might look something like target 1, bottom, and then 0, straight up. Target 3 is the top of the target, and then I have 0.8 and 1.2, which are hash marks on my open class gun. So this is some ways you can think about writing dope cards, and hopefully that brings you, some way to think about this stage if you want to go fast. Holdovers will be key for going fast target acquisition, good fundamentals. Again, I don't advocate for rushing just to score bonus points unless you've been doing this for a while, because again, a miss is not going to make up, bonus points are not going to make up for a miss. But this is some of the things that I go through in 2 possible dope cards, depending on if you have like a half mil hash mark or 0.2 mil hash marks on your scope, that may be advantageous to some people when you start thinking about using holdovers and that kind of stuff. So if you want to go fast, use holdovers. If not, dial for each target and score those points. So hope this was helpful. Until I see you next time, as always, score more points.